How many of you started off the new year saying you were only going to knit from stash, or crochet from stash, or weave from stash, spin from stash? And how many of you have accidentally bought fiber and January's not even over? And how many of you have people in your life who have told you buying those things is a problem? Honey, cleanse them out of your life. Cleanse them out. Say, be gone, Satan. We don't need that negative energy in here. If we want it, we're going to get it. And we're going to do what makes us happy. So leave us alone. Let's get into it. Take 57. What's good, peacemakers? Welcome back to another episode of the Piece4PeaceCrafting Podcast. I'm Michael, and this is my crafty corner of the YouTube universe. If you would like to find me on other social medias, you can find me over on Instagram as Piece4PeaceCrafting or on Ravelry as Piece4PeaceCraft. If you like music, you can follow the playlist that is attached to this podcast over on Spotify, which is the Piece4PeaceCrafting Podcast playlist. Think that's it. I say that every time. It's like, it's hard to remember all the things. Anyway, how's everyone doing? It is Sunday, January something. It's the last Sunday of the month. I can't believe January's over. February's going to be starting this week, which is, I guess, exciting. Cool. How have you been? I've been good. Things have been a little crazy over here, just like getting back in the swing of things from going on a trip, if you watched my last episode, and just like getting back into the swing of work again. It's a lot of things going on, but it's good. Yeah, it's been good. This is my Knit Swag cup with a little fox on it. We love. Yeah, things have been busy, but things have been a little bit boring. A little bit, just like needing some proper relaxed time once I get home. So like the other day I needed something to watch that was like completely mindless, and I could just like sit on the couch and craft and just like be like, oh, today was so long. And so I was scrolling around on Hulu and saw that Dance Moms was on there. Now, I watched this show when it originally came out in 2011, but I think I only watched the first season and a half. Or no, it's two and maybe a half seasons. And so I was like, oh, you know what? Just like joking around, like I'm gonna put this on from the beginning just to like see what the vibe is. And it is still problematic, even in a 2023 lens. Actually, it's even more so problematic, and but like highly enjoyable, which is terrible. So I need to know. Let's have some fun, and from you all in the comments, if you wish to leave a comment, leave a problematic, like funny problematic, not like scary problematic, reality show that you are really into. That one's mine. Honey, that woman is crazy. She does not treat those kids well, and it's wild. So I've been watching that, and yeah, just making all the things. So I think that's it. I think that's all I wanted to catch you all up on. Just like work, normal stuff. All right, so let's get into some fun makes. Oh, if you were waiting for a prize from me, everything's been sent out. You should have it by the time this video goes up. Um, yeah, sorry that took so long. Life got in the way, but I have been getting messages from people saying that they had received things, so that makes me happy. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some more giveaways, make-alongs, things like that happening this year. I do know that just looking, like before I started recording today, I was looking at the subscriber list and we're almost at 3,500, which is crazy to me. So once we get there, there'll be some other prize thing that I do. I don't know, a pattern maybe. Maybe a yarn. I don't know. Well, I'll figure something out once we get there. So if you are new and you are enjoying the content, please do all that fun YouTube stuff like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend. And if you're a homie, let's get into it. All right. So today, three. I have 3 whips, 1 FO. And yeah, let's dive into it. So the first thing I have to show are, I told you all I was, oh my gosh, what's happening? I wanted to do the World's Simplest Mitts pattern by Tin Can Knits. I think, oh no, I have to pop in a photo here. And so I was using this Bare Naked Wool Stone Soup worsted, which is 230 yards for 100 grams. Yeah. And it's got a mix of everything in it. So it is 80% wool. That's a blend of Rambouillet, Columbia, Lincoln, Churro, 15% alpaca and llama, 5% combination of tinsel, bamboo, silk, bison. So that was this color. And then I was holding it with just some scraps of some Murky Depths mohair that I had. I don't remember the colorway. It was just like in a box of like things that were scraps. So I used these two to, you're not going to chew on this box while you're in here. Thank you. We'll talk about Kendrick in a moment. So I used these two to make my mitts. I should have weighed how much I had left from the worsted, because that I started with a full skein, but the mohair I'd used, and so I just was like, oh, this should probably be enough. And it was. So these are my finished mitts. I purposefully didn't put, and they're convertibles. So a couple things about this. One, I love how they turned out. I think eventually I'll go back and I'll make a little loop and put a button there so that these can stay open. But like, I don't mind that they're a little bit floppy right now. I also decided not to, let me go back. I knit the large size. I didn't swatch for it, but I measured my hands. Oh, I'm kicking the camera. I measured my hands and I knew that that was the size that I needed to make. And so I decided that I was going to make them convertible mitts. So I used, which I don't think I linked last time, but I'll definitely link this time. Caleb from Drowning in Yarn has a tutorial on how to make this pattern specifically into a pair of convertible mitts. So I followed that pattern or that tutorial. Once I got to that part, I knit the hand as far as I wanted it to go. And then I purposefully didn't add something on the thumbs so that I could still use my phone. I know I could make a little convertible thing that goes over that, and that was my intention originally, but once I was done with them, I was like, oh, I kind of don't mind that they're not, and I thought it would be too much of a little piece of fabric there to go with the thumbs. So most of the time I'm going to be wearing them like this. If it's really cold, then I will fold them over. I will say the tutorial is great, and my own ness of wanting to get them done, I probably could have done a couple, like my fingers right there. I probably could have done a couple more rows around before, but like they close fine. Sorry, let me try and wiggle it in there. They close fine, like they overlap, but not as much as I would want them to. I am going to do this pattern again, I think, with possibly some of the hand spun that I have, and see what that looks like, just because I have some and I think it would be fun to make like a DK pair. But I'm in love with these. I'm really excited about how the colors turned out. Oh, I wish I had my hat. I have a hat that I normally wear when it's really cold out, and I've shown it on here before. It's like, it's made using Trilogy yarn. Her Suri and a sock weight, I believe. Anyway, so they're like similar colors. That is a little more orange and the gray is a little bit darker, but I think these look awesome. I'm super happy with them. Actually, I knit one of these like on a commute one day. Like it was quite a long commute. But I just like had it and I was going, and then by the time I got home, I was like, oh, and I have one of these gloves done already. Yeah, if you've never made mitts, like I've never made mitts, I would say that this is a really great first pattern. It's super easy to follow. Sorry if you can hear the radiator hissing in the background. It's cold here, y'all. Yeah, and they just like walk you through, and it's in like a bunch of different weights. So I think there's like a fingering weight, a DK, a worsted, and a chunky all are written in the pattern. And the sizes, if you've knit something from Tin Can Knits before, you know, goes from like zygote to in the grave. It's like the whole spectrum of all the sizes. So that's that. All right, I'm gonna have another little sip. And now let's talk about some quips, shall we? All right, so the first one that I want to talk about, because I said that I wanted to knit from stash a little bit more, is, hold up, let me move all the things now. So when I think I said this last time when I was building this little cabinet, I ended up like going through a bunch of areas, we'll say, in our house and finding yarn and seeing stuff and being like, oh my gosh, I wanted to do this with this, or I wanted to do that with that. And so now I'm trying to like start doing that kind of stuff, because like seeing it tucked away was like, I'm very much that type of person that's like, put something in a closet and then it doesn't exist to me. So as I was cleaning one out, I was like, oh, I remember I like had great plans and intentions for this. And so one of those things was, I have the pattern, I think here, is I had this box. I can show you. It's just like a plain cardboard box. This box, and it's full of acrylic scraps. So a lot of like Karen Simply Soft and Vanish Choice, and there's probably some Red Heart in here, and just like other things that like I don't have the ball bands for anymore. And so what I wanted to do was, and I'd already done this, which is so crazy. Like I went and I bought a couple skeins of a main color, and I decided a long time ago that I was gonna make the honeycomb blankets, which is a Stephen West pattern. I thought it'd be really fun to just like make a scrappy version of it, just like take what I have, see what I can do or what I can make with it. And so what I've been doing is I just go to the box and I grab whatever. and just like put it into the blanket. And so for my main color, I'm using this Red Heart Soft. I have a couple, maybe 3 of these. And this is, oh my gosh, it's 283 grams. So 513 yards. The pattern is written for DK, and I'm doing it in a worsted because I want to get rid of these. And this is the color Charcoal. So I just have this, and then I'm just grabbing scraps as they come. So I don't know the color names anymore because none of them have ball bands. The weights are all, oh no, they're all worsted, but because they are different, what's the word? Amounts. Amounts. With the first couple that I did, I weighed them at the start and then knit the section that I needed and then weighed them again. So roughly, just to see how much I was using in the process, and roughly I'm using about 20 grams per stripe, I think is what I have written down. And I haven't done much of this. It was just like maybe last weekend, I was like, oh, I'm just going to cast this on and get it started. I can show it on the podcast. And then I probably won't show it it won't be like I'm showing this all the time because it's just like, I'm going to work on it whenever. So here's what I have so far. I can spread it out on this. This is knit on using size 7s. So I'm just using some wooden KnitPicks needles. And here's what I have so far. So I've done, I don't need to hold that. I've done a yellow and a blue stripe. You can't see that. A yellow and a blue. And I just started with a purple. So yeah, I'm doing the large size because I want it to be a little bit bigger. We have, so oh my gosh, that's crazy. In 2020, I knit the star blankets. And if you've been here for a while, then you know I've talked about this before. Like that was the project that got me to learn how to do brioche, which I recognized was a huge project. I probably should have started with the hat, but it was the beginning of things being thrown out of orbit, and we were going to be home for a while. So I was like, oh, I'm going to have time. Let me just sit. This will be my little project until we like go back to work, and then I'll learn how to do brioche in the process. Well, I got a blanket out of it, and you all know what happens after that. So this is just my like fun little thing that I'm going to be working on. Please don't hit the camera. And yeah, I'll show this as I get further along. I'm really excited about it. I'm excited to empty out this box since I've had plans to do this for a while. And then I can swap out the other blanket that's on the couch, or if it's really cold in the house, which sometimes it can be, then multiple. Not that we don't have throws and other blankets all over the front of our house, but this will be in addition to having that in our living room as well. Just something fun for us to wrap up in. Oh, sorry, I'm bending down because things are falling. Just to wrap up in to keep us warm, and it's helping me to get rid of some scraps that, if I'm being honest, they've been just sitting for a few years. Some of them maybe just 2. And I just want to get them, I want to get them into something so it clears some space out and gets rid of some stuff. So that was thing 1. Thing 2, let's just keep going with the Stephen West, is I finished my Maya sweater, which most of us saw in the last episode, or in previous ones that you've watched, and now maybe you've caught up and you're like, oh, that's what's happening now. Is I may have cast on a new sweater. Oops. And so, quick story. I think I said this last time. So while I was gone on holiday, vacation, whatever you want to call it, Kendrick, my dog, uh, started displaying some what I'm gonna call anxious behavior. So like we already knew that he like liked just like having socks with him, just like grabbing them. He doesn't really like chew them up. He just like makes piles of them. And while I was gone, it turned into shoes. And then it turned into getting the inside of the shoes, like the insoles of the shoes, and just like shredding them. And I was like, oh, you guys, like that's so crazy that he like started doing that. I came home, wasn't really a problem. And then one day it was a problem. And I was like, oh my God, like, what are you doing? So we try not to keep too much stuff out in the living room now, just so that he can like not have this habit anymore. And I one day was like, oh, I left this blanket in the living room. It should be fine. It was fine. But I was also working on this pattern. And I will just show you the bottom of this page. I'm telling you all of this before I show you part of this page. And so he got my pattern. So the dog ate my homework. So I'm doing the Light Festival. Can you see that? Yes, the Light Festival sweater by Stephen West. Look, what is that? What is that? And the whole, like, I'm to a certain point where now I need the last page. That page was completely shredded. So I have to reprint it out. I could just look at it on my phone, but I'm like writing a lot on the pattern. So this pattern is also knit on size US 7s. It's worsted weights. And I think the sample that is shown is multicolored. Oh yeah, you can totally see. It's multicolored and it's using a suri held with all those colors throughout to give you the blue effect over the top of it. So a couple things. I had a friend who made this sweater. I thought it's falling. It turned out really well. And I was like, oh, one day I'm going to make that. So it's a little bit dramatic. We love the drama. It has a huge cowl neck to it. And so I was like, oh, I'm just going to cast this on. And because the neck part of it was small, that'll be like my bust knitting for a little while. And sorry, now I don't remember where the tags are. Oh, and then within like 2 days, maybe 3, of just me only working on the cowl, it was like done. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Now I can start like getting into the sweater part of it. I don't know where, you all, I'm so sorry. Do I have another one up here? I do. Sweet. We'll do this. Okay. Because you know why? The tag was actually eaten. So, all that to say, I'm using this West Yorkshire Spinners, which I had in my stash. The Croft, and it's the Shetland colors. It's 100% Shetland Island wool. And this is in the color Kova. Yes, this is a DK, and it's 246 yards for 100 grams. And I'm holding that with, so instead of using a suri or a mohair, I bought this like a while ago as well. So this is Murky Depths Maelstrom Boucle, and it's 80% superfine alpaca, 11% polyamide, and this skein has, this is crazy, 874 yards and 100 grams, and this is in the color Cyan. So the two colors together are like different shades of gray. This one obviously is a little, I would say, warmer. It leans more brown, and this is a little cooler and definitely leans more gray. I love this color Cyan. I've used it on a couple other bases. And I really enjoy it. Oh, I can just put this in the bag because I'm going to need that soon. So here's where I am with this. I can actually unsnap it so you can see how ridiculous this is. I have pinned, so I just use like these like locking stitch markers to hold the turtleneck part of it in place. So while I'm doing the body of the sweater, it wasn't like crazy long and just like getting in the way. So pray that the things don't fall off. This is so ridiculous. So, and it's just folded over for right now. So here's the turtleneck part. You guys, if I unroll it, it's just like, what in the world? And then I started the body. So this it's so ridiculous. The sleeves have a cool ribbing detail that continue following sort of the ribbing that was in the cowl. So those go along the arms, and then the body of the sweater has these fun little eyelets. Oh my gosh, don't lose a stitch. These fun little eyelets that are your increases for the yoke of the sweater. Sorry, I'm gonna fold this over so I can chat about it a little bit more. So in a few of the pictures that I've seen while scrolling through Ravelry, some people have worn it, or at least taken photos in it, with the turtleneck being like very stiff. And then there's others, which I presume, I didn't really read into like anyone's project notes or whatever, that when you pin it out, because there is a photo, where is it? Oh, it's on my chewed up one. There is a photo of it like over the neck and like pulled. And I think if I block it this way, which I think is what some people have done, it will have more of a drape around, and then be like, it's still gonna be huge because it's like 95 inches of different sorts of ribbing. But it'll lay a little bit more, so I want it to feel like I'm wearing a shawl and a sweater. Does that make sense? So that then I don't have to wear one when it's like really cold out. Whatever. One of the things that I'm obsessed about is, I'll try to hold this a little bit closer, but this thing is so heavy. Because of the differences, I don't even know if you can really, oh, maybe if I do this. The difference in the boucle and the yarn that I'm using is, to me, it's giving it sort of a heathered look, which I think is really cool. And the halo on it isn't as, I don't know what the right words for describing it would be, fluffy, fuzzy maybe. It's just like not as like wild as like a mohair would be, or Surrey would be. And I'm kind of really enjoying that. I think that while I've worked with both before, they're really great, obviously, to work with. But this is my first time working with a boucle, and I think that I'm finding that I'm more interested in, like, yes, the sweater that I want to knit, but also like the different textures that can be played with within making it. So like, I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but like the fact that this one isn't going to be fuzzy, but it's giving me sort of a heathered look, and there still is some texture because the boucle is so tightly, like the curls are tight. I just love the look that it's giving me for, if that that makes sense. You're like, you said the same thing 3 times. Yeah, so I think this is going to be really dope. I love the texture that it's giving. I love the heathered look. I'm also doing it all in one color, which I think is also switching up just the pattern a little bit. I know I've heard other people talk about this too, and like you see a Stephen West pattern, the colors are very wild and out there, which draws some of us in. And maybe sometimes you're like, that's not really the vibe I'm going for. And this was one of those times for me where I was like, like I kept trying to rack my brain, like, okay, what colors am I gonna pick? Like, how am I gonna make this cohesive? And then I was just like, you have these two things in your stash, like, just put them together, and just a simple gray sweater with this fun texture will be the effect that you want out of the sweater. And I'm really happy that I'm doing that. And yeah, it loves it. The boucle is also lovely to work with because it doesn't fly and get everywhere. I just can't wait to have a blanket around my neck. It's so silly. So I'm probably, I think the last time I checked, so this was just, you guys, I think I've only done this week. Which is kind of crazy. But I did take this top part on the bus with me and then worked on the body only at home. I think I'm only like 15, maybe 20 rows out from, what is that called? From splitting for sleeves. So that's really crazy to me, especially because this is like a lot of knitting, but it's nice because it breaks up with the ribbing. So it's like, oh, I need to think just a little bit, but then, you know, you can zip past on the front and the back of the sweater. So it's just kind of going fast. It's just been really fun, in all honesty. And it's also crazy to me that like I am starting to feel that I would be calling myself a sweater knitter now. Like as soon as I was done, I was like, with my other one, I was like, okay, what am I doing next? And then I told my roommates that I would make them sweaters as like their Christmas gifts. So like we've been talking about it, like what do they want or whatever. So I'm definitely gonna have some like non-stash makes coming up because they want more specific things, and like I just don't have that. But I am excited to start making both of those and sharing it with you all because I think both of the projects are going to be really cool. I will talk about them obviously once I start, but I am going to order, probably I'll do that today, order some yarn for those and just start making some swatches. One of them we have to like figure out a main color, so I want to swatch in a couple different colors just to see like what the vibe is. Okay, so that's that. My last thing, sorry, that was such a tangent. My last thing is, so once I finished the cowl turtleneck portion of the Light Festival sweater, and I knew I was going to be starting the body, I didn't want to carry the body of my sweater on the bus with me or just like while I was in transit because that seemed like a lot. It was like starting to take up a lot of space in my backpack. And yeah, it's transitioned. It is now a house piece, and this back to my usual scheduled program of having socks with me while I commute. So I decided to skein up. I showed this last time. Wind up the Naughty Habits yarn that I got in South Africa. And I don't remember the specs off the top of my head, but I do know that it's the knit your socks off like line that they have, and it's a fingering weight, and it was like enough yards for me to get a pair of socks out of them. So I it's really blown out. I caked those up, and if I'm being honest, I was like, as I was like winding them, I'm like, oh, maybe these won't be for me because the colors seem a little too something. And then I decided, you know what? Live your life. So they're gonna be for me. So like as I was casting them on, I was like, should I stop now? Should I keep going? Should I keep increasing? I increased to my size. So these are oh, that's better color. This is where I am. So these are 68 stitches, which is now my preferred for my socks for me. I cast on 14 using the Turkish cast on, increased to 68. and then just start knitting around. I added my stitch markers for where my heels are gonna go. And I'm just gonna go, I'm probably gonna do like another 2 or 3 inches, and then I'll stop, which is kind of in my vibe lately. I'll stop, cut in the heels, do the heels, like keep this attached, obviously, so the colors keep going, but go from the outside of the ball, do the heels, and then whatever's left, that's what I continue doing until the end of the sock. This is giving me Easter Sunday. It's giving me tie-dyed eggs. It's giving me some sort of like fun dessert. I kind of love them. Like, who doesn't need a pair of fun striped pastel socks in their wardrobe? I do. That sounds nice to me. So this is great. Much like the, what's the name of that? The socks that I just finished using, the Stitch Together yarn. This yarn is a little bit thin, which is really nice, I guess, to have like a variation in thickness of socks. If you all, those of you who knit socks know what I mean. So the yarn's a little bit thinner, so I kind of like that for those not so cold days, because I am now finding that I wanted to have more hand knit socks in my wardrobe, and so the cubbies that used to be behind me are now like in my closet for like more storage. Anyway, you don't need to know all that, but I do have 2 things that are like, these are my hand knit socks, and then these are like my like store-bought socks that like I could use these for like my normal day work, and then these are like if I'm just being a normal person and I don't have to like take my shoes on and off, like go teach in a gym for an hour, you know what I mean? Because like you can't always wear your hand knits to be in a cafeteria, you know? It's like, I don't want to do that to the yarn. It's not the vibe. So, although a lot of my kids see me making them, like while I'm waiting for class to start, like sometimes like they'll be finishing up their snack at school, so I'll just like sit in the corner until snack time is over, work on my socks, and they're like, you're always making socks. You always need socks. So yeah, hopefully by the next episode, these will be done. I mean, the fact that I got a lot done on those. Like the fact that I'm past the heel is really great. So those shouldn't take me too much longer, and hopefully I will get a little bit more work done on the body of the sweater that I started. And oh my gosh, there's so much stuff. Like I want to cast on another pair of mitts. If I buy yarn today, hopefully by the next episode, excuse me, that will have come in, and I will have at least swatched for the 2 sweaters that I'm going to be making for my housemates. So I can show you those. I'm excited to start those projects. I know like doing sweaters, no, I was going to say doing sweaters for other people is hard, but like it's literally not. I've done it before. And I have their measurements, so it's like, it's going to be great. But the thought of like already thinking about my next 2 sweaters while I'm working on one it's funny to me. Like I never would have thought that this would be the place that I'm in. You know, you've come a long way since knitting scarves. So yeah, that growth, we love it. Cool. That's all the like knitty content, crafty content that I have for you all. The last thing that I will say is that I have a music recommendation for you all this week. And this one I don't think I've shown on here, but some of us will remember 2006. And this album kind of was everywhere, I think, or at least one of the songs was, but it's the Gnarls Barkley Street Elsewhere album. They were, what's the guy's name? Something, it's not gonna be on here. Anyway, it was two guys that got together. Oh, was it Danger Mouse? Danger Mouse and CeeLo, and they got together. They formed a group called Gnarls Barkley. Anyway, I thought this album was great. They had another one. I thought they were going to come out with a third, but they didn't. And they're both really fun. The song that everyone knows, Crazy, you probably know. Even if you don't know that that's the name of the song, transport yourself back to 2006. Listen to Crazy. You will have heard it. So I'll recommend Crazy, because why not? Smiling Faces is another good one. And The Last Time. I obviously like the whole album, hence why I have it on vinyl. But really fun. The beats are really cool. Yeah, those three songs are really great. If you haven't heard it, go and check it out. Yeah, so that's Gnarls Barkley, Street, the lights. Gnarls Barkley, Street Elsewhere. Have fun with that. All right, friends. Otherwise, I hope everyone's doing as well as they can be right now. If it is cold where you are, I hope you are wrapped up and bundled in something warm. And if you are someplace where it is warm, I hope that you are living your best life. Because I wish I was there with you right now. Yeah, hopefully in 2 weeks we will meet again. I'll have more fun things to share with you all. I'm really feeling, and maybe you are feeling this way too, I'm really feeling like there's a sense of like a lot of creativity happening right now, and I love that. So I'm just trying to like really be about that vibe and about that feeling for as long as I can, just in the things that I'm wanting to work on, like going through stuff that I have and being inspired, like, oh yeah, you bought this, like remember you wanted to make this, or now they're becoming something else. Like these two things for my sweater weren't supposed to be together and are together, and now I'm really happy with them. So like, yeah, let's try to find the creativity that we have already with us and just write it out. Cast on all the things if you want. Who cares? Like, yeah, if it's making you happy, make yourself happy. I'm living for it. I love it. And tell the haters, be gone. Yeah, find your creativity, lean into it, make yourself happy. And until see you next time, make a piece, spread some peace. Peace.